Hi, today's topic for the video conference is anatomy. Anatomy is the Greek ancient word. Uh, the anatomy is the branch of biology concerned with the study of the structure of organisms and their parts. Anatomy is a branch of natural science which deals with the structural organization of living things. It is an old science having its beginning in prehistoric times. Anatomy is inherently tied to development biology, embryology, and competitive anatomy. Anatomy and physiology, we study the structure and function of organisms and their parts respectively, make a natural pair of related discipline and often studies together. Human anatomy is one of the essential basic science that applied into medicine. The discipline of anatomy is divided into macroscopic, microscopic, macroscopic anatomy or gross anatomy is the examination of animals' body parts using unaided eyesight. The history of anatomy is characterized by progressive understanding of the functions of the organ and structure of human body. Derived it is etymology and definition. It is derived from Greek word. Anatomy is the scientific study of the structure of organisms including their system, organs and tissues. It includes the appearance and position of the various parts, the materials from which they are composed, their location and their relationship with other parts. Anatomy is quite distinct from physiology and biochemistry, which deals respectively with the functions of those parts and the chemical processes involved. For example, an anatomist is concerned with the shape, size, position, structure, body supply, and intermission of an organ such as liver, while the physiologist is interested in the production of bile, the role of the liver in nutrition, and the regulation of the bodily functions. The term anatomy is commonly taken to refer to human anatomy. However, substantially the same structure and tissues are found throughout the rest of animal kingdoms. Animal tissues. The kingdom Animalia contains multicellular organisms that are heterotrophic and motile. Most animals have bodies differentiated into separated tissues, and these animals are also known as mutazoans. They have an internal digestive chamber with one or two openings. The gametes are produced in multicellular sex organs, and the zygote include a gastrula stage in their embryonic development. Metazoans do not include sponges, which have undefined cells. Unlike plant cells, animal cells have neither cell wall nor chloroplast. Animal tissues can be grouped into four basic types: connective tissues, epithelial tissue, muscular tissue, and nervous tissues. First is connective tissue. Connective tissues are fibrous and made up of cells scattered among inorganic material called as extracellular matrix. Connective tissues gives shape to organs and holds them in place. The main types of loose connective tissue: adipose tissue, fibrous connective tissue, cartilage and bones. The extracellular matrix contains proteins, the chief and most abundant of which is collagen. Collagen plays a major part in organizing and maintaining tissues. Second is epithelium tissue. Epithelium tissue is composed of closely packed cells which bound to each other by cell adhesion molecules with little intercellular space. Epithelial cells can be squamous, means flat, cuboidal or columnar, and rest of the basal lamina. The upper layer of basement membrane, the lower layer is the reticular lamina lying next to the connective tissues in the extracellular matrix. scattered by the epithelial cells. There are many different types of epithelium. In the respiratory tract, there is a type of ciliated epithelial lining. In the small intestine, there are microvilli. On the epithelial living in the large intestine, there are intestinal villi. Third is muscles tissue. Muscle cells. Muscle cells from the active contractile tissues of the body. Muscle tissue functions to produce force and cause motion, either locomotion or movement within the internal organs. Muscles is formed of contractile filaments and separated into three main types: smooth muscle, skeletal muscle, and cardiac muscle. Smooth muscle has no striations when examination microscopically. It contracts slowly but maintaining contractility over a wide range of stretch length. It is found in such organs as sea anemone. Fourth is nervous tissue. Nervous tissue is composed of many nerve cells known as neurons, which transmit information in some slow moving, radially symmetrically marine animals such as stifors and cnidaries, including sea anemones and jellyfish. The nerves from the nerve net, but in the most animals, they are organized longitudinally into bundles. In simple animal, receptor neurons in the body wall cause a local reaction to a stimulus. In more complex animal, specialized receptor cells such as chromoreceptors and photoreceptors are found in groups and send messages along to neural networks to other parts of organism. Neurons can be connected together in ganglia. In higher animals, specialized receptors are the basic of sense organs, and there is a central nervous system which is called brain and spinal cord, and a peripheral nervous system. Vertebral anatomy. All vertebrates have a similar basic body plan and at same point in their lives, mostly in the embryonic stage, share the major chordate characteristic: a stiffing rod, the knot cord, a dorsal hollow tube of nervous material, the neural tube, pharyngeal area, and a tail posterior to the anus. The spinal cord is protected by the vertebral column and is about to knot cord, and a gastrointestinal tract is below. Nervous system Nervous tissue is derived from the ectoderm. Connective tissues are derived from mesoderm, and gut is derived from the endoderm. Fish anatomy. Amphibian anatomy. Amphibians are a class of animal comprising frogs. They are tetrapods, but the caecilians and a few species of salamander have either no limbs or their limbs are much reduced in size. Their ribs are usually short and may be fused to the vertebrate. Their skulls are mostly broad and short and are often incompletely ossified. Their skin contains little keratin and lacks scales. Humans have the overall body plan of mammals. Humans have head, neck, trunk, which includes the thorax and abdomen, two arms and hands, and two legs and feet. Generally, biological science, paramedics, prosthetics, and orthotics, physiotherapists, occupational therapists, nurses, pediatrics, and medical students learn gross anatomy and microscopic anatomy from anatomical models, skeleton, textbook, diagrams, photographs, lectures, and tutorials. Human anatomy and physiology and biochemistry are complementary basic medical science, which are gently taught to medical students in their first year at medical school. Human anatomy can be taught regionally or systematically, that is, respectively, studying anatomy by broadly regions, such as head and chest, or studying by specific system, such as the nervous or respiratory system. The major anatomy textbook, Gray's Anatomy, has been recognized from a system format to original format, in line to modern teaching methods. Other branches of anatomy, superficial or surface anatomy, is important as the study of anatomical landmarks that can be readily seen from the exterior contours of the body. It enables physicians or veterinary surgeons to gain the position and anatomy of the associated deeper structure. Superficial is directional term that indicates the structure of located relatively close to surface of the body. Second branch is comparative anatomy. It is related to the comparison of anatomical structure in different animals. So, in 16 before centuries, an ancient Egyptian medical text described the heart, its vessel, liver, spleen, kidneys, hypothalamus, uterus, and bladder, and showed the blood vessels deriving from the heart. The upper pyrus features a testes on the heart, with vessels carrying all the body's fluids or from every member of the body. Ancient Greek anatomy and physiology underwent great changes and advances throughout the early medieval world. Over time, this medical practice expanded by a continuously developing understanding of the functions of organisms and structures in the body. Some of the most striking advances in early anatomy and physiology took place in Hellenistic Alexandria. Two of the most famous anatomists and physiologists of 3rd century, great feats were made of during the 3rd century before century in both the digestive and reproductive system. Heteropoulos was able to discover and describe not only the salivary glands but the small intestine and liver also. He showed that the uterus is a hollow organ and described the ovaries and uterine tubes. He recognized that spermatozoa were produced by the testes and was the first to identify the prostate gland. The anatomy of the muscles and skeleton is described in the Hippocrates, an ancient Greek medical work written by unknown authors. Aristotle described the vertebrate anatomy based on animal dissection. In the 2nd century, Galen of the Paragram, an anatomist, clinician, writer, philosopher, wrote the final and highly influential anatomy treatise of ancient times. He combined the existing knowledge and studies anatomy throughout dissection of animals. He was one of the first experimental physiologists throughout his vessel experiments on animals. Anatomy developed little from classical times until the 16th century. As the historian Mario Bros returns, progress in anatomy before the 16th century is mysteriously slow, as its development after 1500 is steadily rapid. Between 1275 to 1326, the anatomist Mondino di Lunzi and Antonio Bivici at Bologna carried out the first systematic human dissection since ancient time. Mondino anatomy of 1316 was the first textbook in the medieval rediscovery of human anatomy. It describes the body in the order followed in Mondino dissection. In England, anatomy was the subject of first public lectures given in the science. These were given by the Company of Barbers and Surgeons. In the 16th century, joined 1583 by the Lemonian lectures in surgery at the Royal College of Physicians. Thank you.